Good evening, folks. Ron Motta here, Activate Worcester. Spring has sprung in Worcester. We finally have some good weather and good sports to be enjoying and great weather to do anything you want to do out there. But in spring, this young man's brain turns to baseball more than anything else. It's always been my thing. It always will be. And one of the great, in my opinion, great benefits of living in Worcester is to have terrific baseball teams for us to get behind, not the least of which are the Bravehearts. And I'm going to give you a free commercial on the Bravehearts tonight. I think, and have thought this for years, it's the best entertainment value in town, just as simple as that. It's a family-oriented venue. The place is terrific. The food, by today's standards, is more than reasonably priced. Very high in quality. And let me tell you, kids like to go, as well as adults, to get a few munchies at the ball game, and you can do it very nicely at the HIP, Hanover Insurance Park. The quality of baseball that's on the field, is it the same as you'll see in Fenway? No, but it's damn close. It's good quality. It's about the same quality you'll see at the highly beloved Cape Cod League. Good college kids from all over. Many of them end up going pro. And on top of it, as I said earlier in my little monologue, terrific family-oriented venue. There's always something going on to get the kids involved. Little contests and races and whatnot, which they love. And they're always doing things within the confines of the stadium itself to get the kids involved, which is a great thing. In other words, they make it a fun event. And also from a practical standpoint, real easy to park. There's a parking lot literally right there, and if they have an overflow crowd a little bit behind it, you have a field, of which you're paying, as they say in the old country, bupkis, zero, nada, zip. And one of the other things that I like about it, personally, is that it's literally right off 290, easy to get on, easy to get there. I think it's got everything in the world that you need for a lovely night out. In fact, even on Friday nights, they have a fireworks display that rivals anything the rest of the city does with their big budget on the 3rd of July. Also, the prices of the tickets are damn reasonable. So if you were to take a family of 4, quote unquote, a nuclear family, technically a husband and wife, or however that shakes down these days, and 2 kids, and you go into Boston to the Fenway Park, you're going to go for between $400 and $500 before all is said and done, between tickets, exorbitant parking, aggravation, and paying ridiculous money, like $10 for a hot dog or whatever. You stay close right here, and you got yourself a great time for a fraction of the price. Wonderful venue, summertime. There's nothing like going to a ball game in the summer, either during the day or afterwards. And that's one of the reasons that I just love the sport. I think it's fabulous. And our guest tonight, and he's graced our golden EIB microphone several times in the past, is Dave Peterson. Dave is the general manager of the operation itself. And basically, we're kicking off the new season tonight. And it's great to have you on. It really is.
It's awesome. It's great to be here. Thanks, Ron.
Well, it's the truth. Tell us about what's going on with the Bravehearts this season.
Well, 2022 is actually rebranded. If you're a Worcester Braveheart, it's 2020U, which means that we're dedicating the entire season to the fans. And what that means is that people who come to the ballpark can participate in everything that's going on, whether it be picking the music that the players have when they walk up to the plate, picking the jerseys that they're going to wear on a specific night, picking the promotion that's going to happen the next Saturday night.
So the inmates are running the asylum now.
We have it. We figured it out. That was really the whole trick. And I finally figured it out after 15 years of working in baseball. So 2022 is 2020U. And really the reason we did this is because the last few years have been so difficult. People haven't been able to get out of the house. And so that's why we beefed up our online streaming. People were watching the games online when they were confined in their homes due to COVID. Mm-hmm. Even last year, 2021, We didn't see schools doing field trips yet because a lot of the schools were still remote. We didn't see companies doing outings because they weren't ready to get their employees back together in large groups. Yeah. And so what has happened is now that the world is starting to open back up, we want to be the place where people go. And we want to be able to put smiles on people's faces, which is our job. Mm-hmm. And so 2020U is the whole marketing umbrella under which the Bravehearts are operating this summer. And we really just are having the fans get involved in every aspect of the game.
Other than that, first of all, that's a very novel approach. Interactive. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. And it's not going to be the same old from game to game. Not that there's anything wrong with the game itself. But having all of that going on, that should be a terrific way to get people really involved, which I think is the great thing. Kids as well. Kids especially, and part of the big marketing campaign this year at 2020U is there's going to be 2 games where the kids actually make up the rules. You choose the rules. And so on June 7th and June 8th, those are 2 games that we really dedicate to the city of Worcester and their public schools. And remember I mentioned field trips. Sure.
So schools are finally coming back out on field trips. We always had it as an educational day where we're able to teach the kids how the subjects they study in school relate to the game of baseball. Mm-hmm. But this year we've taken it a step further and we're actually tapping into their imaginations. So we have 2 games. They will be exhibition games, but we're looking for rule submissions from kids that they want to see in a baseball game, and we will test a new rule each inning for 7 innings. It's going to be a 7-inning game because we're going to move things along. And then at the end of the game, regardless of the score, it's going to end in a home run derby. Because the kids want to see that. That's what's exciting. And that's why we're trying to spice up the game of baseball and get the younger generation involved so that they become fans of the game of baseball. They play baseball. They watch baseball growing up. And then when they have kids, they teach their kids about baseball.
That's great. As you and I have discussed, when I was a kid, and I know this 100 years ago, the sport that you played was baseball. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might play a little football on the side, a little hoops, in the schoolyard and all that sort of business. But baseball was the game. And at least where I grew up, all the kids were involved in some little league activity and so on and so forth. Now, one of the things that you shared with me, there used to be 11 different little leagues here in Worcester alone. Now that number is basically down by about 50%. And I know the pandemic has something to do with it, at least I think it does. I think that there's competition from other sports that you really haven't had before, soccer being one. And yeah, hockey, but not at this time of the year. Football, not at this time of the year. Lacrosse, all sorts of things. Plus kids just doing this all day long. This is what they do. They have their little screen and they push buttons all day long. That seems to be the number one focus. But with all due respect, the other part of it, in terms of being interested in baseball, and I've heard it's stayed and it's slow and so on and so forth, and 5 and 6 relief pitchers, et cetera, and it's just not the same pace as basketball, for example. And part of it, a pox on the house of the baseball gods that have sold out for the Bucks. Most games are played at night. Even things like the World Series, All-Star games, they're all TV shows. They're all nighttime TV shows that start about 8:30 at night. And the kids who have any interest in it, like sitting with their parents to watch the ball game, or their parent, you're going to let the kid stay up until 10 o'clock, who's got to be, up for school at 6. So all of that kind of makes it a bit difficult. And the other part of it is, and I've become aware of this now as well, is that, again, when I was a kid playing ball, you had to pay for your uniform, and you had your own glove maybe, and that was about it, your spikes. But now there's almost like an entry fee that the kids have to pay, or that their families have to pay, like $1,000 a kid. Now, if you have 2 or 3 kids, and this isn't for the whole year, this is for baseball for a 3-month period, I'll bet that a lot of parents are saying, well, maybe you really, play catch with Johnny or something, go down to the field. You really don't have to play on the team. And then there are those who get to another level, they have to travel, AAU, which is even more money, and then the parents are involved. It becomes a big, big money thing, rather than a bunch of kids getting around just having a ball, which is what baseball is really all about. So I don't know if you can add anything to that, but I think it's painful because that's really where the baseball fans of tomorrow and the next 20 and 30 years are going to come from. The kids that are playing ball now in the fields. And if they could care less about that, 20 years from now, we may see a whole different version of baseball than what we have right now. That's why what you're talking about, especially the dates again were June 7th and June 8th?
Yeah.
I think that's exciting as
You
hell.
choose the rules, exactly.
That's great. I know I'm planning to be at the stadium. I'll call it the stadium. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there May 27th, which we'll talk about. And then I'll also be there for another function on June 11th. And then there'll be other times that I'll be coming, without a doubt, because I love it, as you can tell. And incidentally, folks, I'm not being paid by the Bravehearts to shill. That's what Activate Worcester is all about. It's a freebie. We say what we want to say, what we feel, and that's what I feel about the sport. That's what I feel about the Bravehearts. May 27th. What happens May 27th? It's opening day at the ballpark.
Well, May 27th is really the opportunity for us to kind of start the party. And the whole summer we're referring to as a party, and it should be, because kids like going to a party. You like a birthday party.
Of all ages.
It's a party for all ages, yeah. And so May 27th, we're actually unveiling a fan wall, which is in right field. And so one of the things that we've done that's just kind of flipped our thinking on its head is that we've taken away some sponsor billboards in the outfield, and we've replaced them with an art mural. And, you look at any major league stadium or minor league stadium, all you see are sponsor logos. Now, we're still going to have sponsors. We still have sponsor logos, but we've taken the largest wall in the stadium, which is the right field wall,
Sure. I can
90
see it.
feet. You can see it from the highway, and we've taken down those sponsor signs. We've replaced it with an art mural with pictures of our fans who have submitted their pictures online during the winter months, and pictures of basically the logos of small businesses who suffered through the pandemic. So these are the small mom and pop restaurants that had to figure out how to stay in business when they couldn't have people sitting there. Transportation companies that were doing absolutely zero business when people were staying at home. And so what we offered was, if you were a small business that suffered during the pandemic, you send us your logo and we'll put it on that outfield fence for free, along with all the photos of our fans. And so it's an art mural. And so we're going to unveil that on opening night, May 27th, with the city manager. He's going to be throwing out the ceremonial first pitch.
Nice.
And small business owners will be on the infield, lining the infield, because they're the ones that really persevered through the pandemic, and they're still here to talk about it. And the Worcester Bravehearts are one of those small businesses. We could not sell tickets during the 2020 season. We played baseball up in Leominster, but we couldn't sell tickets because of COVID. Arenas couldn't be open.
God.
And so we figured out how to stay in business through that amount of time. And so that's one of the major pieces that's happening on opening night. And I think it's going to be pretty special, because fans that come to the game, even if they don't like baseball, they're going to be able to participate in activities, like you said, that don't involve baseball. And one of them might be come down on the field either before or after the game and take a look at that art mural and see if you find your face on that, because we put a lot of effort into doing that.
What support are you getting from the TNG? Excuse me.
Well, I mean, the
I
Telegram.
get choked up when I talk.
Yeah. See, look, the Telegram and Gazette continues, like every other business in media, to downsize. And I am a broadcast journalism major. I went to Syracuse University. I graduated in 2002, so I have a degree in public communications. And this is nothing new. Okay, when I graduated college, radio stations had started this thing called voice tracking, where there was never a live DJ in front of a microphone. It was all recorded at 5:30 in the morning, or it was trucked in from a computer in New York City. And so you had this DJ who recorded something in New York City and then sent it to Worcester, Massachusetts, and it sounded like they were live on the air, but they're not. And the reason that happened is because of media consolidation and because it was cheaper. And that's what's happening with the Telegram and Gazette, and it's unfortunate. There are some wonderful local reporters, certainly some great local photographers, but the majority of that publication now is all trucked in from the AP, and we're losing the sense of local reporting. Now, I know you got me on the show to talk about baseball, but you also said, we talk about whatever you want. And the media landscape is shifting. And so when you take a look at the Telegram and Gazette and how they're struggling with subscriptions, they're all about clicks, okay? They want click-throughs on their articles. They want to sell those subscriptions. And unless we have compelling things to talk about, people aren't going to read our articles. That is why we took this model on this year. We're dedicating the season to the fans, because no one's ever seen a baseball game before where the kids make the rules, okay? This is the first time it's ever happened. We have a promotion where the players will actually change their uniforms this year in the 8th inning if the team is losing. So remember, you put on a rally cap.
Sure.
This year, we're putting on a rally jersey. We're the first team in the country that's ever done this. And CBS Sports, this went national. Boomer Esiason was talking about this on his radio show just last week. So if we're giving the Telegram and Gazette something compelling that their local reporters can actually write about, then we'll get some coverage. But you have to be able to produce that content. Otherwise, you're just going to be overlooked. And you're going to be filling space in a newspaper or filling time on a radio station with stuff that is trucked in from places outside of Worcester. And that is why I don't work in public communications anymore.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. Is something like this being, I'll use the term, marketed to the different schools so that the kids and the parents as well are aware of this whole effort?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And so we've been working quite closely with the Worcester School Committee. And Molly McCullough has really helped us out with this.
Great.
John Monfredo, a former member of the school committee who's
Good
my
guy.
next door neighbor.
Oh, is he really? Good
Yeah,
guy.
and he does an incredible job collecting school books for kids. They're in his garage,
Oh, I
and once
know.
his garage is full, my garage starts filling up.
And it's all good stuff. It's not
all
junk.
excellent.
Yeah.
And so by working with those school committee members, Tracy Novick, a wonderful supporter of the Bravehearts and has been for years, Sue Mailman, a new member of the school committee, these are people who care about making sure that the kids are receiving education, but also knowing how the cultural institutions in the city relate to what they're talking about in school. And so that's why we've brought this to the Worcester Public Schools. As I said before, tapping into these kids' imaginations, talking to them about how mathematics is important. If you want to play sports, you have to get good grades.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work as a statistician in baseball, you got to know about mathematics. If you're going to work as, if you're going to write the post-game press release in baseball, you have to know about literature, English, you have to be able to form sentences. And that is the kind of programming that we're bringing to the Worcester Public Schools, and we hope to enhance that in the fall, now that we also have a new incoming superintendent of schools.
It's interesting you say that, because I remember as a kid talking about skills that you don't necessarily associate with school and with joy, with sports per se. I was one of these kids that used to get, like all of us, baseball cards. And you'd look in the back and it would give all these statistics. And from it, I kind of found out how you do batting averages. And I think I was like 8 years old, and I can do this still to this day. I can do batting averages in my head. And, just working with the numbers in a non-classroom environment into something that's kind of fun, where you could use the premises that they're trying to teach you at school and actually apply it in a positive way from your perspective. And just as you said, learning how to write properly and to convey a message, critical issues to be dealt with today. And in general, the schools are being savaged by a lot of people who feel that, the curriculum is really not all that relevant to them. So being able to apply different disciplines like that in a fun context, which is where you're coming from, I absolutely love it. I can't, the thing that I'd love to see, based on the June 7th and June 8th dates, I really would like to see whether it's, the Boston stations, not just, Charter One and so on. It's things that really have a big outreach because you're doing something that's novel, that's fun, and hopefully is something that could expand maybe around the country, for God's sake. It's that good. I love it. And incidentally, folks, I hadn't heard about this. I'm not shilling. I didn't hear about this tonight. And as Dave knows, I like to keep this kind of fresh so that I can react just as hopefully you would as you're watching this. And I hope you get the same sense of, I'll use the word excitement that I'm feeling with this. I think it's just a great, great concept. Great concept.
And it's because we need to, we need to get the younger generations to be interested in the sport of baseball. Because you were talking earlier about how the city of Worcester used to have 11 little leagues. That number's been cut in half. Certainly some of that is due to COVID. But I think the major factors there are lack of money, lack of volunteers, because there's a lot of these parents that are working multiple jobs just to pay the bills now.
Sure.
Okay, and they don't have time to volunteer to coach their kids in baseball. But really, lack of kids, which translates to lack of interest. There just isn't as much interest in 7 and 8 and 9-year-old kids as there used to be in the sport of baseball. You mentioned video games. It's a big thing. They're all sitting in their houses. Some of them aren't playing sports at all. But particularly in baseball, the game is slow. Okay, and I often say, like, I work in baseball, and I shouldn't be saying these kind of things about the sport of baseball, but it's slow because a kid, a 6 or 7-year-old kid, could stand in right field for 2 hours and never have a ball hit to him or her. Okay, and there's nothing functionally we can do with the sport of baseball to change that. However, we certainly can speed things up. Mound visits. We can make sure that we're not, playing 16 or 17 innings to break a tie. That's why the Futures League, our league, plays 10 innings. If the game is still tied, we go into a home run derby. And it ends the game after 3 minutes. And that's how we end the game. And people need to be open to these new ideas in the sport of baseball because football has it figured out. Football can play games on Sundays at 1 and 4 o'clock. And even if the national game of the week is on when the kids go to bed, they have the opportunity to watch multiple football games on Sunday afternoons. Then the games are on Monday nights and Thursday nights for adults that do want to stay up late. They have it figured out. That's why people like football. It's faster. That's why people like basketball. It's faster. Baseball is slow, and they need to fix that.
One of the things that they've implemented initially, being the old purist, does this really make sense? What is he talking about? In major leagues now, if you're in extra innings, you start off with a guy on second base.
Sure.
And, why would they do that? Well, they do that so this way, first of all, it's more fun than nobody on base and you grind for 3 or 4 innings. So there's always something going on, both in the top and the bottom of that inning. So things like that I think are terrific. But back to the kids for a second, okay? Yes, Dave is the general manager of the Bravehearts. And obviously he's got a good brain, creative guy, he's a fun guy, et cetera, et cetera. But he's also a guy who shows up on a Sunday at West Boylston where the kids are having a skills contest. Kids running and hitting and doing also fielding, et cetera, et cetera. And he does this repeatedly around the region. I know this because I was there and saw him about a month ago because I have 2 of my grandkids were playing in that little episode that they had there. But he's doing everything that he can to generate excitement and fun for all these kids and to get them involved. And if I had a hat on, I would be more than happy to tip it to you for what you did. And the people, Don, that was with you, Don Porcaro and all that, these are great people who are really committed to this whole thing. You're there to help the kids and really to help the families. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And again, I thank you for your efforts on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's Don Porcaro, who's our director of media, who grew up in Worcester. He played at Jack Barry Little League, and it's his idea. It's called a Little League Takeover, where the Bravehearts come to you. We bring our staff and our promotions, and we put on a show for the little leaguers so they feel like they're playing in a major league stadium or at a Bravehearts game.
Great.
And so that's what makes baseball fun. That West Boylston event that you were at, it's the kids running the bases, okay, that's a contest. It's the ground ball and the throw to first base in the target, that's a contest. It's the hitting contest, who can hit it this far, who can hit a home run. And so the kids do.
And running the bases, which is really
I mean,
fun,
you know, it's all different types of skills. So even if you can't hit a baseball, you might be the fastest kid on the field, and your whole team is cheering for you there. So that's what makes baseball fun. We did it in Sterling, we did it in Shrewsbury, we're doing it in Rutland, and we're just taking the show on the road this year. It's 2020 U.
It's great. I love it. We have about 2 minutes left. I'm going to actually do this for a minute and shut up, which is hard for me to do as well, you know. Tell us other events that are coming up for this season that we should be looking at. How many games are we playing at home? How many are on the road? What's happening with the playoffs? In fact, you might take a moment and just give us a quick overview of the history of the Bravehearts. How many seasons have they been in the playoffs? How many seasons have they been the champions?
Sure, the Bravehearts are entering our 9th season. And we've been in the playoffs every one of the first 8. We've won 4 championships, and we've made it to the championship series on 7 of those occasions. And I think it's because we treat the players well. We feed them well. We find great host families for them. And this year is no different. We have a Worcester Tornadoes reunion night. You might remember going to the Tornadoes games.
Well.
It's June 11th, which is a Saturday night. We're bringing in all of the old staff members from the Tornadoes.
I'll be there.
Wonderful.
I'm there.
We're actually wearing old Worcester Tornadoes jerseys that will be auctioned off for charity. And we want to relive the good days of the Tornadoes, okay? We're not talking about the days when Jose Canseco was here, because when I worked for the Tornadoes, things were good. They built that stadium. That stadium is now 17 years old.
Yeah, that's great.
So Tornadoes on June 11th, and fireworks every Friday night, and we're going to have a blast this summer.
Always do. You can't go to this place and not have a lot of fun. Even if it rains, it's still kind of cool, but on a regular day, regular evening, there's no better place to be. They deserve your support with helping the kids, but you'll have fun. Don't worry about the kids. If you're an adult, go there and you'll have fun. I promise you will. Ron for Activate Worcester, thank you. And again, Dave, thank you so much for joining us again. Best of luck, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks for being on. Good night, everyone.